What if the Russian oligarchs you've idolized as ruthless tycoons were actually the first rats abandoning a sinking ship? In a stunning twist, their loyalty to President Putin is unraveling, exposing a web of betrayal that's stripping Russia bare. This isn't just politics, it's a cold, hard exodus of billions, leaving ordinary people in the frozen dust of economic ruin. Imagine the stench of desperation as families huddle around flickering candles, their fingers numb from the biting cold, while elites sip champagne in sun-soaked hideaways. Have you ever wondered how a nation's wealth can evaporate like morning mist under scrutiny? This revelation shakes the foundation of power, with Putin's dream of a stronger Russia crumbling under the weight of his allies' greed. In the shadowy underbelly of 2025 Russia, lifelong alliances shatter on the altar of self-preservation. Oligarchs, once bound by mutual gain, now flee in droves, igniting the biggest capital exodus and state heist in history. Dollars pour south to Turkey and Dubai, while trapped insiders devour the country's golden lifeline. Numbers don't deceive, they scream betrayal. Dive into the crime scene, cold, unrelenting facts buried by the central bank. Elites funneled a whopping $650 million abroad in mere weeks. Is that a drop in the bucket for a superpower? Savor the irony, this surge dwarfs the December 2023 turmoil and October 2022 mobilization chaos. Not peasant savings, but savvy capital from insiders rubbing shoulders with ministers, teeing off with generals, glimpsing doom as their fortunes vanish overseas. It signals a fatal lack of faith in Putin's victory or economic revival. The bank's defenses crumble into sheer panic. The ruble's might morphs from policy weapon to barricade, halting middle-class and elite mass desertion. Daring to loosen rates seems a bitter pill. Cheap money risks colossal outflows, swelling to $1 billion next month, then $2 billion after. Panic grips, ban this, and 1998's collapse repeats, grinding banks to dust. Where hails the exodus? Havens shift southward and eastward, jettisoning London's fogs and New York's glittering traps. Turkey beckons first, Istanbul and Antalya, no longer mere resorts, cradle fleeing fortunes. Witness Roman Abramovich, exiled from Britain's glamour, mooring his megayachts like Solaris in Bodrum and Marmaris's waters, dodging European seizures. In Istanbul's backrooms, he barters wealth secure. Dubai rises as the epic saga's heart, a Dubai grad haven, sanctions blind, where Russian tons flow unofficial. Coal baron Andrei Melnichenko shields his $600 million yacht from EU grasp by UAE asset shifts. Energy titan Vagit Alekperov of Lukoil reroutes fleets and finance through Dubai sands. Central Asia lurks as the back channel. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan launder paths westward via Astana relocations. The betrayal crystallizes, while Putin battles for a grander Russia westward, his forged elite bleeded dry southward and eastward, siphoning wealth, investments, life's blood. Not all escape sanctions or punitive fear chain some. So they plunder, devouring gold reserves, empire's true survival core. Gold endures where currencies falter. A shield when swift dies and nets sever. Putin's stockpile, his anti-dollarization fortress, erodes. From 405 tons at war's dawn, plummeting to 173 by 2025. 57% vanished. Sold not to London or New York, but insider Russians, oligarchs gorging on Kremlin-tied contracts. Teachers scrape by on crumbs, workers clutch empty wallets. This ain't trade, worthless rubles bartered for sovereign gold, a sink-or-swim scam favoring VIPs hoarders. When smoke clears, war done, regime fallen, what remains for masses? Rubble and IOUs. Elites clutch global treasure. Putin barters Russia's future for his throne's grip. Rivals align differently, China's gorging on history's biggest gold buys, fortifying against Taiwan dreads or Western standoffs. America's 8,133 tons dominate unchallenged. Russia, defenseless, arms stripped, cedes financial fate to Beijing's whims, vassal exchanges for cheap oil and ores. Superpowers stockpile, Russia dismantles, vassal-bound. Plunder spirals, 50 billion in assets seized, Kremlin's grip weakening, elite loyalty fraying. Picture Chelyabinsk's industrial roar, airport tension thick. A $50 million bombardier jet ski idles, bound for Turkey passenger, gold mogul Konstantin Strukov of Nordgold, czar of Russia's third biggest mines. Engines whine, takeoff denied by uniformed blockades. Agents swarm, snatch passport and wealth. Why? Flight detected, warning volley, escape cash, not yourselves, we keep you hostage. Harshness fails, exits burrow deeper, crypto, Dubai shells, offshore webs. Fear trumps allegiance, windows yawn wide. Amidst elite air, commoners grapple brutally. That 650 million exodus starves tables, choking Russia's core. War tides drain funds, SME aid slashed 43% early 2025. 100,000 businesses buckle, seeding rot. Wages stagnant, inflation bites deep, the rope phrase. Can Putin snuff dissent? Peasants murmur in factories' fume-laden air, but whom to trust? His coalition splinters, foreign foes circle victoriously, Russian giants humbled. This 2025 tale twists, abandonment breeds isolation, as outsiders dream, insiders hoard, and Putin clings to echoes of control. What price for betrayal's final act? As the Russian ruble continues to weaken, the potential for financial catastrophe looms larger. Experts warn that if the currency drops just a bit more, the monthly outflow could spike to $1 billion, then $2 billion. Such a surge could bring the banking system to its knees, reminiscent of the chaos seen during the 1998 economic collapse. But where is all this money heading? The answer reveals a startling shift in the strategic mindset of Russia's elite. Once captivated by London's foggy streets or New York's towering skyscrapers, they now see these places as traps. Their true compass points south and east. Istanbul and Antalya have transformed from leisure havens into fortresses safeguarding Russian wealth. Roman Abramovich, a symbol of Russia's billionaire class, exemplifies this transition. Once Britain's most famous Russian, he anchored his luxury superyachts in Turkish waters, shielding them from seizure in European ports. In secret negotiations in Istanbul, he's steering clear of the collapsing system, keeping his fortune intact. The most significant refuge is Dubai. Dubbed Dubai Grad, it's become a sanctuary for the wealthy, where international sanctions lose effect. The city's opulence masks its role as a fortress for Russian capital. Take Andrei Melnichenko, Russia's largest coal and fertilizer magnate. While European authorities seized his $600 million yacht A, he shifted his assets to the United Arab Emirates. Similarly, energy mogul Vagit Alekperov now manages his fleet and finances from Dubai. Nearby, in Central Asia, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan have become hubs where illicit transfers thrive. Russian companies relocate their headquarters to cities like Astana and Tashkent, dodging sanctions and laundering wealth in secret. The picture is startlingly clear. While Vladimir Putin believes he's fighting for a greater Russia, his inner circle is draining the nation's wealth to the south and east. This embezzlement doesn't stop. As the country's stability erodes, the elite's flight accelerates, leaving behind a hollowed-out economy and a nation with its sovereignty for sale. The question remains, how long can this silent bleeding continue before the entire system collapses under the weight of its own greed? In the prior arc, Russian tycoons shifted their empires southward and eastward. Dubai emerged as a fortified retreat for energy moguls like Vagit Alekperov. Central Asia, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan turned into secret laundromats, laundering billions and routing funds westward. Russian firms relocated HQ to Astana and Tashkent, dodging sanctions. The scene was unmistakable. Imagine a stark betrayal unfolding under shadow-laden skies. Vladimir Putin battles for a vast Russia on the Western Front, yet the faithful elites he molded betray the nation, bleeding it dry by funneling away its vital wealth, draining investment might and economic core to south and east. Not every mogul can vanish. Some linger in Russia, trapped by sanctions or dreading Putin's fury. What tactic do they employ? They sit not idle. They compensate for exile ban by pillaging the state's holiest relic. Empires rose on armies through ages, but lasted on gold. Gold isn't flimsy paper currency like dollars or euros. It's sovereignty's final shield. It's currency that endures, even in blackest days, when swift grinds halt and internet cuts dead. For epochs, Putin amassed Russia's vaults with gold, waving banner against dollar dominance. It was Armageddon assurance. Yet now, that shield tears apart by Kremlin hands. Examine figures, peer into Putin's dread firsthand. War's dawn saw Russia's National Welfare Fund hoard 405 tons of fluid gold. Gold sellable and usable swift. By November 2025, plummeted to 173 tons. In mere 3 years, 57% of states' key hoard vaporized. Who received this gold? London Exchange? Forbidden. New York? Nay. Moved via covert domestic sale. Kremlin peddled gold to local consumers. Who buys? Average Russian educator? Teachers swallow salaries from gram purchases. Factory laborer? Workers starve for basic butter. Gold hoards by Kremlin-linked oligarchs and tainted banks, gorged on government deals. This crowns history's grandest insider gamble and treasure shift. Behold the scheme. Moguls hand state their dwindling rubles, fading to worthless scraps. State craves rubles for war funding. Reward? Pure gold from treasury veins. No fair barter. It's a snare of liquidity, outright robbery. As ship founders, captain barters lifeboat seats, not to crew, but elite passengers, who swipe vessels' prized goods. When conflict ceases or regime crumbles, masses inherit bleak rubles and unpaid dues. Moguls exit with world-accepted gold stacks. Putin barters Russia's future autonomy to this elite clutch, to cling throne extra moons. What shocking fact exposes this plunge? Have you grasped the horror? 57% of Russia's gold fortress melted in 3 years, directly into insider pockets? Will the Kremlin halt the heist, or sink deeper into ruin? Continuing from the plunderer's game, where oligarchs and corrupt financiers snatch Russia's gold reserves in a shadowy insider deal. What if the very rulers abandoning the sinking ship are handing over the nation's future to Beijing's rising empire? The asset barons hand over devaluing rubles, worthless paper now teetering on the edge. The state craves them to fuel endless battles. In exchange, they receive gleaming pure gold from hidden vaults. No fair bargain here. It's a cunning liquidity snare, a brutal heist. Picture the captain hawking lifeboat spots, not to desperate sailors, but to luxury suite elites. They flee with the ship's prized treasures, jewels flashing under stormy skies. What nightmare awaits when wars fade or power crumbles? Ordinary Russians will clutch deflated currency, unpaid labors echoing in empty wallets. Yet the magnates hoard fountains of gold, treasures that gleam valid across every border, worldwide beacons of untouchable wealth. Putin barters away Russia's sovereign soul, to this exclusive cabal, just to cling to his throne a bit longer. But gaze at the shifting global chessboard. Russia's foes and fickle partners march a stark rival path. China unleashes its colossal gold-buying spree, the biggest in history, bolstering central coffers to the bursting point over these past 18 months. Why this furious stockpiling? Beijing fortifies against chokeholds, hoarding reserves to shield financial freedom, bracing for Taiwan tempests or full Western clashes. The air hums with anticipation, silent vaults filling with heavy, tangible power. Meanwhile, America stands as unquestioned financial titan, clutching vast gold hoards of 8,133 tons, an unassailable fortress. Stripped of its own reserves, Russia now lies exposed, vulnerable to global financial gales. As China swells its riches, Russia's piecemeal dismantling of its own armor hands Beijing unparalleled sway over Moscow. The once mighty bear surrenders financial fate to Beijing's whim. Russia treads a vassal's path, bowing to Beijing for meager energy bargains and raw feeds. The smell of subjugation lingers, bitter smoke from bargains made in shadows. Nestled among global giants, Russia cedes its crown jewel to inner predators, while adversaries gird for battle. Imagine the Kremlin now grappling, as unchecked looting spirals, eroding control. What dark measures will they unleash next, to chain the fleeing fortunes tighter? As Russia strips away its golden defenses, bit by bit, it hands China unmatched power over Moscow's fate. The nation's control over its financial future now rests in Beijing's hands. Russia has stepped onto a road of submission, becoming a key ally to China in strategy and economy, trading away energy and resources at bargain prices. Imagine the Kremlin's halls echoing with frantic whispers. Can one man's desperate bid to flee shatter the illusion of control? In the shadow of superpowers rising, Russia betrays its own strength. It yields its vital treasures to thieves within, while enemies fortify their walls. Picture the cold bite of Siberian wind whipping through Moscow's streets, where secrets fester like untreated wounds. How can a nation pretend to stand tall when its core is hollowed out? This betrayal swells unchecked. Even the Kremlin stumbles, grasping at control. Already, about $50 billion in private fortunes have been snatched back. The speed quickens, like a heartbeat racing toward panic. It's no mere money grab. No. It reveals the regime's raw fear. Fear of cracks in its own foundation. Fear that those sworn loyal might turn. Let me paint a scene that chills the blood. Flashback to a humid night in Chelyabinsk, Russia's gritty industrial heart. The air hums with the low rumble of jet engines, thick with the scent of aviation fuel and distant factory smoke. On the tarmac, a sleek bombardier private jet gleams under floodlights. Worth $50 million, it's primed for the sky. Destination, the sun-soaked shores of Turkey. The lone passenger? No everyday traveler. He's Konstantin Strukov. Billionaire magnate. Baron of fortunes. Head of Uzuralzoloto, Russia's third-largest gold empire. A true king of the glittering vein. The engines whine louder, vibrating through the metal hull. Strukov settles into leather seats, the faint tang of polished wood calming his nerves. But then, screeching tires pierce the night. Black minivans barrel onto the runway, blocking escape. Federal agents swarm like shadows, boots thudding on stairs. They storm aboard. Rough hands seize Strukov. His passport vanishes into a gloved fist. Heart pounding, he feels the chill of handcuffs? No. Just the weight of betrayal. Days later, the blow lands harder. Shares in 11 companies. Billions in assets. All frozen. Why? Strukov sensed the doom. He saw the regime's ship listing, waters rising fast. He tried to jump clear. This raid? A thunderous warning from Putin himself. To every tycoon watching from gilded towers. Take your cash, if you dare. But your bodies stay chained here. You and your empires, hostages to this crumbling throne. Yet, does iron rule halt the exodus? Far from it. It drives the rats deeper into the walls. No more blatant suitcase hauls or bank wires. Now, oligarchs weave through digital shadows. Cryptocurrencies flicker like ghosts on screens. Shell firms bloom in Dubai's glittering haze. Offshore webs tangle like smoke from a hidden fire. As Putin slams the front gate, they slip out the back. Through cracks in the foundation. Up the flue, into the night. Why? Fear burns hotter than any oath of allegiance. It gnaws at the soul, sharper than any blade. But what if this underground scramble sparks a spark that ignites the whole powder keg? Whispers of fear ripple through shadowed corridors. Oligarchs abandon old ways, stuffing their futures into digital veins and offshore shadows. Cryptocurrencies hum like secret codes. Shell companies in Dubai gleam with false promises. As doors slam shut under Putin's gaze, they slip through cracks, climbing chimneys into anonymity. Fear, that icy grip on the soul, eclipses any vow of allegiance. It fuels a desperate exodus, leaving the empire's core to fester. But what if the real carnage isn't on gilded stages or overlooted vaults? Picture this, while the elite clutch at gold bars that gleam like veins of eternal power, the everyday world beneath crumbles in a grimmer war. Those $650 million funneled away by the wealthy? Snatched straight from the skeleton-thin plates of ordinary families. The air thickens with the stench of moldering hopes. Fingers tremble over frayed banknotes that feel like whispers of betrayal. Economic rot eats at Russia's soul, exposing the lies of stability. Putin, like a tyrant diverting the life's blood, chokes the civilian pulse to swell the war chest. Subsidies for small businesses slashed by 43% in the first quarter of 2025. Boom! Nearly 100,000 tiny enterprises slam into bankruptcy, their doors creaking shut like forgotten tombs. That cozy bakery on the corner, with its warm aroma of fresh bread now a faded memory? Gone. The repair shop echoing with hammers and tool clinks? Silent. That quaint boutique where fabric sighed under gentle hands? Extinguished. Since January, 200 car dealerships have crumbled too, rows of gleaming vehicles left as dust-gathering relics. How can Russia's middle class dream of wheels when a new car grips the pocket at 3.43 million rubles? Skyrocketing, unrelenting, a brutal high without a peak in sight, set to climb steeper. Inflation's claw tears deep, leaving just 9% of owners able to revive their weary 3 to 7-year-old rides. The rest? Trapped in rusty cages, their engines coughing like sick lungs. Average vehicle age surges forward, mirroring Cuba's embargo-choked stranglehold in the 1960s, or the Soviet Union's twilight gasp. At this merciless pace, Russia's roads will scream with echoes of a bygone era, becoming a grim Soviet-Cuban mosaic in mere years. Is this the future Putin promised, rusted echoes of isolation? Then July hits with a 30% pork price surge, year over year, while April unleashed a potato explosion, 285% up. Feel that? Prices stabbing like thorns into palms reaching for sustenance, unraveling the Kremlin's facade that war's shadow would spare the home front. Household budgets buckle under Aurora's icy gaze, potatoes morphing into luxuries sharper than daggers. The people's trickle turns to torrent of despair. Who will survive this feast-turn-famine? And what's next? A twist no one saw. The Oligarchs games aren't just about gold, they're scripting an endgame that leaves the nation hollow, defenseless against a rising storm from the east. As allies turn predators, does Russia stand alone, or kneel as a shadow? As families across Russia grapple with potato prices skyrocketing 285% in just 1 month, the squeeze on everyday budgets shatters the illusion of normalcy, exposing how the war's shadow creeps into every home and meal. Imagine the sting of cold air in a dimly lit Moscow supermarket, where the scent of wilted produce hangs heavy. Shoppers clutch thin wallets, eyes widening at shelves stripped bare. Why does this quiet desperation hit harder than battlefield headlines? This economic storm touches millions more lives than any frontline clash, ripping apart the regime's empty vow of steady ground underfoot. Feel the weight of that betrayal, the promise of security crumbling like stale bread in your hands. Official numbers from the capital? They're smoke and mirrors, hiding the truth that now screams from every cash register. The nation's economy contracts sharply, state budgets plummet in tandem. The central bank? It's out of moves, inflation raging unchecked like a winter gale through cracked windows. Picture the divide, sharp as a knife's edge. Up high, elites scoop up gold bars, their footsteps echoing toward distant horizons. Down below, ordinary folks tally coins for a single potato, the earthy smell of scarcity filling their kitchens. What happens when the bridge between rich and poor snaps? This gaping rift? It's the death knell of the unspoken deal binding society, the elite's quiet nod to the ruler in exchange for protection. Rhetorical thunder, can a leader's grip hold when grocery lines turn to battlegrounds? Putin's pledge of calm unravels right there. Amid beeping scanners and shuttered shops, where dreams of tomorrow fade into hunger pangs. Now, stitch these threads together, and the full horror emerges. Russia isn't governed like a proud nation anymore. No, it's a crumbling enterprise in its final, frantic wind down. The bosses, those tycoons and officials, sense the rot in the walls, hear the timbers groan under invisible strain. The ceiling? It's caving any second. So they raid the safes, pocketing the final bills and gleaming reserves, slipping out the shadowed rear exit like ghosts in the night. The workers, the everyday people? They're chained to desks in the inferno, sent to the edges knowing their paychecks will vanish like mist. The acrid smoke of collapse chokes their lungs, yet they toil on. Twist your view here, while the leader boasts of forging a mighty realm and humbling foes abroad, he's plunged his land into isolation's chill embrace, vulnerable, adrift, stripped to the bone in ways unseen before. That internal grab of gold stocks? It's no strategy for survival. It's a somber rite, the tolling bell for what's lost. But strip away the powerful backers, what's left for the man at the top? His throne rested on a fragile equilibrium. He showered fortunes on the wealthy, they pledged unwavering allegiance in return. Now, that pact lies in shards, scattered like broken glass underfoot. What desperate gambit will he unleash next to claw back control? A leader who no longer holds the support of his elite, with empty coffers and a starving population, is destined to fail. No matter how many nuclear weapons he commands, victory slips away. When the chaos subsides, what will be left? A collapsing nation with worthless money, looted wealth, and a future seized by greedy oligarchs. Putin's true legacy? Not triumph, but relentless theft and profound isolation.